You are everyone. I'm Wally, and the rest of the listeners are Brennan, and we're roasting chips, yes.
Hello.
Hello, and
We're
welcome
back. We
to
didn't think we would be, but here we are.
a super special extra bonus episode
Yes.
for 2024. We saw our Spotify Wrapped things for the podcast here and realized we are more popular than I thought. He probably knew how popular we were the whole time.
I did not. So actually, funnily enough, we are like really lacking on Spotify. Most of our traffic comes from Apple Podcasts, which is funny. So we need to get this. We're doing this to pump our Spotify numbers.
Yes,
because we
this is
saw
a
our
Spotify exclusive episode. I'm just kidding. I don't know why I said that.
Could you imagine?
But we are here because over the past couple days here, we've gotten a new trailer, and
Yes.
it looked phenomenal. And we decided, hey, why not record a short little bonus episode to talk about it?
Yes, and we're not going to talk any news today, and we're going to quickly go over the two shows we're watching: Creature Commandos and Skeleton Crew, and then Brennan has a short blurb on Kraven because he saw that movie.
But however, for this trailer that has everyone so excited, it is of course for Morbius 2. So without further ado, let's start. No, it's nothing that phenomenal here. It is, however, the Superman trailer, the start of the movies for the new DCU moving forward under the leadership of James Gunn. We've gotten a look into that universe already through Creature Commandos, but the very first time we're having a movie that takes place in this universe since the transition in leadership here.
Yep.
I will say so far reactions have been almost exclusively positive that I've seen about the trailer. I absolutely love the trailer. So without further ado, I think we're gonna get into that. Just do a quick watch through, maybe make a couple quick comments here while it's going on. Then we'll just talk about it, what we're hoping we'll see, what we're hoping will not be included, just other general thoughts we have. So without further ado, let's get started.
Thank you for setting that up because I was very busy trying to figure everything out, how the sharing the screen works. So, all right, here we go. You can hear it, right?
Absolutely.
For anyone listening, go watch the trailer.
Consider this your option. I do love how awkward he looks as Clark Kent.
Sorry, say that one more time.
I just like how awkward he looks as Clark Kent. Like that's exactly how
for sure
Clark Kent needs to look.
Crypto.
I gasped the first time I saw this part.
Oh,
As soon as I saw live action Crypto, I got so excited.
Me too.
Like that more than anything else sets the tone for what this movie is gonna be.
Yep. His first look at Lex Luthor, that's his name.
Superman.
triumphant fanfare. Okay,
So
so
that's a good trailer.
so
That's a good trailer.
little backstory with a little bit more about the film, and I sent this to Brennan before I sent him the trailer. It's supposed to be much more grounded than his past comic book projects. It's the quote is here. It's taking from more from other things like Game of Thrones, where it's more like a universe superheroes actually exist already.
Mhm.
David Cornsweet influenced the decision to wear trunks. Superman wants kids to be afraid of him. He's an alien with incredible powers, so he dresses like a professional wrestler. Or no, doesn't kids want he wants kids to not be afraid of him. Sorry.
Yes, there we go. That's one thing I was about to correct. Was like I think something about that might be a little backwards.
Sorry. James Gunn is feeling the pressure. There's a plan, but if Superman doesn't work out, we're not going to just keep making movies, which is, something that we've not seen from DC because they kept making movies.
Yeah, and that should just be able to be a totally innocent statement, but I can't help to interpret that as like a dig at Marvel completely.
Oh
Because I
yeah,
mean,
well that too.
recently
Yeah,
Marvel's just been churning out everything, trying to set things up that they have no idea if they
it's
will ever
not been
see
great
the light
right
of the
now.
day.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything has to build up to something here. Nothing can just stand by itself.
Yep. Yep. Flying Actions is shot with drones inspired by the Top Gun Maverick movie. The movie is score driven, not song driven, which with nod to John Williams, which you heard the original
Yeah.
Superman theme in that trailer, and that's awesome for me because I love scores a lot more than I like song driven movies. Even though a movie like Guardians of the Galaxy, which James Gunn has done or did, was very song driven.
Yeah. It'll be a
Um,
big change from what we've seen
mhm.
uh with James Gunn recently, because like all of the
Yep.
Guardians of the Galaxy movies were very song driven. He's doing Creature Commandos right now, very song driven. Peacemaker's
Peacemaker.
season 1,
Yep.
exact same.
Yep. And this is not aiming to set up other projects outside of Peacemaker season 2. So this is going to have a tie-in with season 2 for Peacemaker, which is really interesting.
Hmm.
Lois and Clark know each other very well. Mr. Terrific has a big role in the film, which we saw him in the trailer. It starts in the middle of the action, which maybe that the opening scene of the trailer is where the movie also opens. Lex Luthor already hates Superman, which we kind of see in a couple of the shots, and it takes place over a short period of time. So, with knowing all that, Brennan, your first reaction to this trailer was
I'm so excited. That looks like a good movie. That looks like a good start. I'm so glad we don't have to start from square one. I feel what so much of the old uh DCEU tried to do was like set everything up slowly, and they just did a bad job of it here. I know Marvel set everything up slowly. It worked for them early on. Now the universe is huge and they don't really know how to balance all of that. But here, James Gunn is just leaping forward, and I think he's correct in doing so. Audiences don't want to have another slow build MCU now. Origin stories have been the focus for so long. Getting to just dive in, have things established, not feeling the need that you have to do homework before seeing this movie, knowing this movie won't necessarily be homework for later films. That's just such a relief. It looks like, just visually speaking here, it looks great. You can already sense a lot of like the conflict and the hope, and just it just looks fantastic. Very excited for it. My dad, who was big into the MCU when it started, but hasn't seen a comic book movie in quite some time here, with just, how complicated and how many like threes and fours of series there have been. He hasn't seen a movie or expressed any interest in seeing those movies in a long time. And he just casually like brought up this Superman trailer to me on his own. And he never sees a movie trailer. So if even he's part about it here, and he's looking forward to it coming out again. It's like that just speaks volumes here.
Yep, agreed. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. I was really looking forward to this trailer because I follow Isabel Merced, who plays Hawkgirl, on Instagram, and she was talking about it for a while. And I just got really excited. I saw the trailer and it felt really good. And I like that they're starting in the middle of it, and we're not getting an origin story because they did the same thing with the Batman, and they did the same thing with Spider-Man. Is we didn't get origin stories for them. Now, Spider-Man 3 can kind
Yeah.
of be a new origin story for what we have now in the MCU.
Mhm.
But when we met Spider-Man, he had been Spider-Man. When we met Batman, he's been Batman, at least for a little while. And so, kind of jumping into the action, I think is good because, like you said, origin stories are kind of like played out. We don't need to see a new origin story every time a new character comes out, unless it's a character we're unfamiliar with. And Superman is he's the superhero. When
He's
you think of a superhero, you think of Superman.
he's the one that everybody knows.
Yeah, I mean he's in all the theme parks. He's had a million different movies, a million different shows. We don't need another origin story. So to be able to start into his story is really, really good already. And I think that's really good. And as for casting, just from what I saw in the trailer, the casting is phenomenal. And I know a lot of people liked Henry Cavill, Henry Cavill as Superman, and that's great. But this guy looks like he nails Clark Kent, which I think is more important than nailing Superman.
Yeah. And for the other two recent examples you gave of superheroes who didn't have origin stories in their recent movies, Spider-Man, remembered him. He was the only other example I could think of. I think that worked fine for him in like the MCU. He's had some highs and lows. I don't know how much of that is related to like how they decided to tell his story or not. But for the Batman, how they approach that, I forgot that wasn't like a true origin story for him.
Right.
That was fantastic how they established that and like set that up. And for people who are afraid that with Superman not seeing his origin story, it'll be too much for audiences, too confusing. I mean, we just had that exact same thing with the Batman, and that's one of my favorite superhero movies of all time now. It did so well, even amongst general audiences. And if this has anywhere near the same level of care to the story being told, it'll be an instant hit.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited to see how the story plays out. It looks like they're kind of coming at it with a bunch of different angles. They're trying to set up. I don't know if they're trying to set up everything, but they have a lot of different storylines going into this. Because I mean, already I think there were 3 villains in the trailer alone. I mean, there was
Luthor. There was
Lex Luthor, who's not the main villain, I don't think.
There was the big dragon,
Mr. Terrific, the big dragon thing, and then I don't know the guy who had the Green Lantern. I don't know if he's a villain.
Yeah. Well,
but
because even Mr. Terrific, I'm pretty sure is a superhero, at least.
Oh, is he really? Okay, I thought he was a villain. See, I don't know much.
Yeah, because Mr. Terrific in the Arrowverse show was a superhero, but I don't know how he is in the comics. I don't know if the Arrowverse adaptation was true or not. I'm excited to see him because like I hadn't heard about him at all prior to Arrow, and just all the new characters Arrow was able to introduce was really neat. So it'll be cool to see another version of him.
Okay.
Hawkgirl will be great to see too.
Yep. I'm sorry, the Green Lantern person was not a bad guy. I don't know why his face just looked like a bad guy. But Guy Gardner as the Green Lantern.
Yep.
So already we've set up the Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, and Superman, which, like they said the blurb is that this superheroes already exist.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, which that'll be really nice to see here, especially with how large the universes are. I know the MCU's had a lot of challenges of like how do we introduce the X-Men here because
Mm-hmm.
you know we've already kind of made it clear that the superheroes that exist are the superheroes that we've seen. So I remember seeing articles a long time ago about how there was just struggles of like how the X-Men could be included, and DC just won't run into that problem.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, I went through. Yeah, so they introduced a lot. So I guess Lex Luthor is the bad guy in this.
Mhm.
I thought he was just like kind of like off to the side, and they'll set him up for later. But no, so
Gotcha.
Mister Terrific, Metamorpho, Hawkgirl,
Ah,
Kelex, which is Superman's like robot companion, I guess.
hmm.
Um, Hawkgirl and the Green Lantern were all set up in this as heroes, and then Crypto, of course.
Yes, yes.
Which
Yeah. And
I'm most excited for because I don't think we've ever had a live action Crypto. And if
I don't think so either. I was so excited seeing all the teasers. I didn't know how big of a role Crypto would have, and then when he had such like a core role in the
Mhm.
trailer, phenomenal.
Yeah, it's yeah,
Phenomenal.
I'm very excited for this. We still have to wait 6 months for it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's gonna get a lot of play. I think we'll probably get another trailer or two before then.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Um,
yeah, because this is straight up like just a teaser trailer, even though it was a little bit of a longer one. I think there was some quote that like James Gunn shared that said for the trailer, this doesn't spoil the story at all because
I don't think it did at all. No.
yeah, because most of the scenes from the trailer take place towards like the very start.
Hmm. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
Yeah, and then I remember I saw like a kind of like a breakdown of this. There's that one scene of the kid who's raising the Superman flag,
Mhm.
and there's like one, and it's like from like a country. I think it's a made up country in the comics, and it's like from a really
Probably
really
so.
early version of like very early story of Superman. There's
Oh,
like this
interesting.
whole conflict where he like Superman goes in and he like stops a conflict in this country and like makes sure that and he like threatens the leaders of the country to solve the conflict or he's gonna kill them or something. But it's like
Nice.
from like really, really early Superman.
Hmm.
So I think
Great.
that's an interesting storyline to throw in there. So um,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited. We saw a picture of his like a clip of him and with his dad as well.
Mhm.
And a lot of people and seem to be think that his dad's probably gonna die for some reason, but I don't know. Um,
I've seen a bunch of like jokes and memes just about that scene where they're like, yeah, this is Superman saying goodbye to his dad before he just walks into a tornado and is never seen again as a callback to like the scene from Man of Steel that I think ever since that movie came out was relentlessly mocked.
yeah,
Um,
I've seen some comparisons to Man of Steel already, and I think a lot of people are just like, and then there's another camp that's like, guys, just don't even bother comparing this to Man of Steel.
mhm, mhm.
It's like not going to be on the same level. So,
Yeah.
it looks really good.
And
I'm very excited for it.
I am hoping because like I haven't seen anyone with like a serious take thinking his
Right,
dad
right,
or
right.
his mom are gonna die yet. I'm hoping they don't because I know in like the in the comics and a lot of the animated shows like they are figures who stick around for a while and always are
Mhm.
able to give him some kind of advice and guidance, and that's what I'd like to see a lot more of because like I do hate the trend in a lot of superhero movies that we've seen where like a
Yeah,
lot of the side characters are completely disposable.
yeah, or the villains, and
Yeah.
that
Yep.
happens a lot, and I think then that's a place where I don't think I want them. That's a place where I don't think they should go as either. I mean, it's
No.
like well, that's like the Marvel effect. We've talked about this before. They always kill
Yep.
off the villain, and then there's kind of it. But Lex Luthor is such a like such an important character
Mhm.
to Superman that
Yeah.
killing him off it seems like a terrible idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Like
we'll see where the story goes. I'm very interested.
Yeah, Lex Luthor needs to stick around here. If he dies or something else like that happens here, it's that would be such like a bad sign for the future of the universe.
Yep. Yep. I'm trying to think. Did all the Guardians of the Galaxy bad guys die? I know the
The
second.
first
I know
one,
Ego did
y-
because he was.
yes, yes,
Yeah, they
yes.
killed Ego.
Yeah,
Did
the
he?
first one also
Did he die or did they
died.
arrest him? Because he had the dance off.
No, I think they channeled the Power Stone
Oh, that's right. You're right.
kill
You're
him.
right.
I think so. I think
Yeah,
so.
I believe you are correct. And then I don't remember who the bad guys were. Oh no, yes, I do. In three, I remember who they were. But
Yep,
did they
yep,
die? I think they blew up the ship, right?
yep,
Yep.
yep,
Okay, so
yep.
so
No, no,
sorry.
no, 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 no,
Probably
no,
should have
no,
prefaced
no,
that
no,
with
no, no.
spoilers, but no.
Sorry, sorry. I take that back. The high evolutionary does not die. It kind of looks in like the movie in the
Oh,
final
that's right.
cut of the movie that they did leave him on the ship and the ship exploded. But like canonically, that's not uh what happened. I think you can see him being carried out of the ship in like the background shot of one scene. But there's also a a deleted scene which is technically still canon, even though it's not in
Right.
the movie where Rocket or someone else talks to him after all of the events where he's in a prison cell.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Mhm,
I'll have to
mhm.
find that. I haven't seen that. But okay, cool. And then it was interesting and not surprising that they included at the beginning from the producer of Guardians of the Galaxy,
Mhm.
the franchise, which is funny to use that DC is using Marvel to
Yeah.
advertise the movie.
Yep,
But
yep, yep.
I mean that's what James Gunn is known for at the moment. I'm sure. I know he's done other stuff, but
Abs
at the moment that's what he's known for.
Absolutely.
So, any other thoughts? Are you just excited? I'm just excited.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm just hoping this is more of like a lighter, more hopeful, more optimistic take for DC here, because
Mhm.
I know that uh DC has kind of been known as like the darker brand uh recently.
Yep.
And this just, I mean, even going back to use one of the original scores from Superman,
Oh yeah.
it like it just watching the trailer just fills you with so much hope.
Yep.
I'm really looking forward to this movie. I think this will be one of the first like event comic book movies we've had in a while. Like those ones where it's just like the opening nights and weekends are so big and filled
Oh yeah.
with so much buzz and excitement. Because I don't think we've had one since Avengers Endgame.
Nothing like on that scale. I mean, Deadpool came close, or Deadpool and Wolverine. That was an event, but like I think it was only an event for like a certain people because like it was
Yeah.
rated R, so like you couldn't take your kids to it. I mean, you could,
Yep.
you
Yeah.
shouldn't have, but you could have taken your kids to it. But
Yeah.
this is
But
for sure. Friends, family, large
yeah.
groups, everyone's going to go see Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Because
agree with you totally.
even Deadpool and Wolverine, that was still aimed at like more like comic book audiences and like
Yeah.
all that, where like if if you're talking to like your grandfather or like a very young child, they're not gonna have any idea who like Deadpool is. Maybe they've heard of like
Wolverine.
Wolverine, but for like Superman,
Like,
you're gonna get
yeah.
everyone out.
Because like I said, Superman is the superhero that everyone
Yes,
knows.
yes.
Like regardless of whether or not they're into the comics, whether they know about the comics, whether they, I mean, there are people who are our parents' age and older who grew up with the original Superman movies.
Hmm.
And they grew up on the Batman TV show. So like those are two of the most popular of all time. And so they're gonna see this, they're gonna hear about the trailer, they're gonna hear the score in it, and be like,
Hmm.
oh yeah, I'm gonna go see this movie. I'm gonna bring
Yeah,
my
yeah.
my son. They're gonna bring their son. They're gonna bring their son. We're gonna
Hmm.
have four or five generations of people going to see these movies. You're right, totally. It is
Yeah.
going to be, and I guess it explains why it's being released in the summer. It's definitely going to be the
Oh
summer
yeah,
blockbuster of the year is Superman. Yep.
absolutely.
That's gonna be, and I'll probably, because like really just for movies in general, it's been a while. I think since something like that's happened.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
much less the superhero movie genre, but like movies in general, there haven't been a movie. I mean, I guess Barbenheimer was like the last time
Yeah.
like everyone flocked to the theaters to go see that. But like,
Yep. Yep.
even so, there are people who didn't see Barbie, people who didn't see Oppenheimer, people who didn't see either. But like Superman is, I mean, it's Superman, you know.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
awesome. So, next, you quickly want to go over Creature Commandos and
Sure. Yeah. Uh.
Kraven.
Yep. Yep. Starting off by staying in the world of DC here, James Gunn is still making his way through the first official new uh DCU installment. Since last time we did this podcast, episodes 3 and 4 have released here, which is crazy that we're doing this episode like 2 weeks after our last episode. We're almost back on, our
Yeah,
old
don't get used to this.
cadence. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking back at like everything we had done. And I was like, we used to do this like every 2 weeks, like pretty
Hmm. Hmm.
consistently. And I remember
Yeah.
once one of them said, "Sorry, we haven't been to our regular schedule. We'll get back right to it." And we got right back to it. And like, okay,
Oh wow.
I guess we used to do it back in 2021, but
Who knows how?
we didn't
Uh,
have as important of jobs, I guess.
mhm.
But anyway, continue.
Yeah, but yes, so far the series has been enjoyable the whole way through. It it is definitely earning its like uh a mature rating. There are a lot of like crude jokes and sexual themes where I'm like, it's it's like it's laying some parts on a little thick, but there's so much heart and everything's still being told to the story. Like just James Gunn and his ability to make the most bizarre, unknown, unlikable like creatures to like take them and give them the deepest, most emotional stories. Like the last episode had a lot of flashback scenes just focused on the weasel
So I
from
saw that. I saw the
yeah.
one where he got late, where he was labeled he killed the 28 kids.
Yep,
I
yep,
saw
yep.
that. I saw that whole scene. It was really really good.
Dude,
And he
the
was falsely framed.
yeah, the end of that, like the way the entire episode ends and everything, I was like my heart was broken. There were tears in my eye. I was like, this is Weasel, the joke character from the Suicide Squad, the movie that James Gunn made.
Well, they did the
And
same thing with in Guardians 3 with Rocket.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's wild stuff like that where it's like that's so much of what the old DC was missing and what
Mm-hmm.
Marvel is missing now. Just taking these characters and giving you such like a deep emotional look inside here. It's like that is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. So, I won't say it's my favorite show of all time necessarily, but this is
Oh, so you hate it.
definitely one. No, this is definitely one that's gonna stick around and is one that like you're really really enjoying getting to watch
Yeah.
as it comes out here. Like I'm excited to see where it it goes in the future here because I think it's only 7 episodes long, which means
Mm.
we're just over halfway through if I'm right about that. And like I truly have no idea how this is gonna end yet at all, which is like
Yep.
just
7.
such a good part about how James Gunn can structure these stories, because a lot of like in Marvel, you're watching and you're like, okay, the good guys are gonna win, obviously, the bad guys are gonna lose, bad guys are probably gonna die, but you get a story that's like that's is especially in that same style as like the Suicide Squad here, where it's like any character could die at
Mhm.
any time, anything could happen at any time. It's like it is such a fun watch.
Good. That's awesome. That's good to
It
hear.
is.
Yeah,
Oh
I've
well,
heard good
here,
things. So
I'll say it's um such a fun watch, or you are absolutely crying your eyes out about Weasel or GI Robot or one of the other just absolutely bizarre characters you've never heard of before in your entire life. So,
that's good. That's good.
yep. And
Um,
then the only other update I have is just about Kraven the Hunter, the big
yes.
blockbuster movie instant smash hit of 2024.
Which,
Um,
by the way, after the reviews came out for this movie, it
yeah,
looks like Sony's not going to continue with their
yeah.
Spider-Man universe thing.
So yeah, because it looked like, and I'll just jump to that now, because like a couple days after it released, maybe right before it released or somewhere around there, there was an article that came out that basically implied, like based on quotes that they got from Sony, that like the Sony Spider man villain universe, whatever you want to call it, with the Venom movies, Morbius, Madam Web to some extent, Kraven, that was dead completely. They were,
SSMVU.
yeah, something like that. Um, yeah, it looked like they were opting to exclusively focus on Spider-Man 4 in conjunction with the MCU, and then their Spider-Verse movie as well, as well as I think some other projects, but all of the villain movies, that universe was dead and over. There was an article that released later that seemed to indicate no, that's not true.
Okay.
It's just on hold for right now, but they are planning on continuing with something. I
Until they
don't
hire
know.
better writers.
Yeah, like I don't know what's correct, what's incorrect. The funniest thing that came out of that article that I saw is like what audiences understood, like diehard comic book fans, what we had been led to believe is that because of the contract between Sony and Marvel, Sony was not allowed to use Spider-Man in their movies while Spider-Man existed in the MCU.
Oh, gotcha.
Turns out that wasn't true. Sony could have been using their own Spider-Man in these movies, even Tom Holland's Spider-Man, if they wanted to, at any time,
Oh, jeez.
and just opted
Not to.
not to for whatever reason. So,
God.
what people are thinking now is Sony's realized that doesn't work, and like they're putting it on hold. They're gonna find an actor to play Spider-Man in
Oh,
their
okay.
movies, and then like try to tie everything back together, or just start over completely here. So that is the a rumor that I heard. Um,
Venom 3 has been out already?
huh?
Venom 3 came out already?
Oh yeah, it
Did you
was.
see it?
Yeah, it was not good.
Okay. I had no idea. I was like, oh, I wonder when that comes out. It's already out.
Yeah, like the movie kind of starts off as like a fun watch, and at the end, like too much stuff happens, and
Is
you're
that
like,
Venom 3 or is that Kraven?
oh, that's Venom 3.
Oh, okay.
Um, Kraven is, I think, like maybe like equally as bad as Venom 3. It's probably a little bit worse in my eyes, because in Venom 3 you at least had Eddie Brock and Venom's relationship, which was like
Yeah.
hilarious throughout the entire movie. So even if like the situation they were in, you're like, this isn't that great. Seeing
Yeah.
them interact with everybody else and everything else and themselves, that was hilarious.
Mhm.
Um, Kraven the Hunter starts off, and I was like, I know this movie is gonna be bad, but I'm hoping it's like the Madam Web bad, where like I watched Madam Web and I love Madam Web so much, and
Every
Madam Web
second
is
of it,
not
yep.
a good movie
Terrible, but I
whatsoever.
loved
But
it.
it's so funny. I was hoping Craven would be like that and not bad like how Morbius was bad. And even though I've never seen all of uh Morbius, the parts I have seen, just not good, and like not good in a way where I don't want to watch it. Um, so Craven starts off, and I'll say like the first half hour or something like it
How
is
long was the
bad
movie?
in the
How long was the movie?
it was I think about 2 hours.
Okay,
So
a
the
lot.
first half hour is bad, but it's bad in the way that Madam Web was bad, where I'm watching it and I'm having a phenomenal time. I am having the time of my life. It's there was like one scene where it's so how he gets his powers, his backstory is like he's a kid and he's going hunting with his dad,
Yeah.
and then he like wanders off like by himself, basically, and he and like this big lion comes out of nowhere, and like he has a gun, but he's making eye contact with the lion, and they kind of like reach an understanding, and he's like lowering his gun, and the lion's backing down, and then like his dad comes out of nowhere and says like, "Hey, a lion!" And he shoots the lion, and the lion like leaps towards him, and like it bites him all up, and he's dying, and the lion like takes him and he carries him off.
The
Um,
who Craven or his dad?
yeah,
Okay.
no, Craven, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Because his dad keeps shooting the lion while his son is like right there, and it's like they were at the most like, hey, we're gonna leave each other alone like state of all time, and then the shots just aggravate the lion. So the lion like tears into him, um, and then but then the lion like carries him off and carries him to a young uh Calypso from the comics who
Okay.
like whose grandmother just did like a tarot card reading for her and and was like, "Oh, here's a tarot card with a
What?
lion on it, and I'm gonna give you this ancient potion that our family has, and you'll know where to use it here." So this lion just like walks up to her after she like wandered off from her family, and the lion just like drops Craven in front of her, kind of like nods to her, and then like leaves. But as he's leaving, the camera zooms in on this like soul drop of a lion's blood that comes from the lion's wound and falls into Craven's blood. And like it mixes with that, and you're like, okay, I kind of get it, because then like she gives him like the strength potion or whatever, and then that mixes in with everything. But then like there's this like montage that happens, and it shows you the shot of the lion's blood falling into his blood like three separate times in the montage over the course of like 30 seconds, and I was like cracking up. It was the funniest thing I think I've ever seen. Yeah, because you're like, no, duh. And this is after you've seen him in the future where he has all the powers, and it's so unnecessary and so funny. And then she like leaves him like the tarot card with the lion that was on it, and then like 16 years later he uses the tarot card to track her down somehow, and it's never explained. And it's like those beats are so incredibly funny, but like truly after the first half hour, I don't know what happens, but the movie just gets so dull and boring, and how they go about the story. It's like there are some interesting beats, but however, it's like paced or shot or acted or something. It's not fun to watch anymore at all. So the last hour and a half are a lot more challenging to like uh to get through here. All in all, it's a fine movie. It's definitely not Sony's worst movie of all time, but it's also not good. So
Think in the new year, I need to go. I need to watch more. I need to watch as much of Morbius as I possibly can. I need to
yeah,
watch Craven, and I need to
okay,
watch the new Venom, and we need to
okay,
power rank
okay, yeah,
the Sony. What did you say? The Sony Spider-Man villain universe. I think
yes,
sometime in
yes.
the year we have to do a power ranking for that. Just
This sounds good.
because,
Sounds
well,
good.
even though I think I know what both our number ones would be. Maybe not. Maybe not. But
I'd say my number
you describing
one is Madam Web. 100%.
me too. I mean, you describing the way that all went down reminds me of how it all went down in Madam Web. It's like almost the
Yes.
exact same.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's so bad. They like did they just like copy and paste and replace the characters just instead of spiders and lions instead of
Oh, there was also one scene towards the very end where like everyone keeps talking about Kraven. They're like, he's a man with no fear. He's a man who has no weaknesses or whatever. But and like they decide the only way to like catch him off guard to like dull his senses is to like inject this serum into him, and it's essentially like it's like a serum that's like supposed to like paralyze him and kill him, but one of the side effects of it is it shows you your greatest fear.
okay.
And they inject him with it. Turns out his greatest fear is spiders. And I was like,
Of course
why would
it
they
is. Of
do?
course it is.
Yeah,
Naturally.
I was like, why would they do spiders? And then I realized it was Spider-Man. I just said,
Spider-Man.
I was like, oh, okay. But it just felt so arbitrary.
Oh my
Um,
God.
yeah, so
Okay, yeah, I need to watch this movie and I'll see if I can get through any of it. I don't know if I'll pay for it. I might like wait until it comes on streaming, but
and then
um,
one additional thing to add, it's kind of a spoiler. I know I've said some other
it's okay.
spoiler things here.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
remember, so we're good.
Okay, there's another character who's introduced, and just jumping outside of this movie for a second, I totally forgot there was a Spider-Man villain who was named the Chameleon.
Yep.
I don't know. Yeah. So, there's a Spider-Man villain who's named Chameleon.
I was really hoping you see Rhino.
No, but there is Rhino in this movie
Oh
as
God.
well. They
Like
put
the Rhino or a Rhino?
the Rhino. They put
He's not a mech. He's not a mech, right? Like
no,
in Andrew
no.
Garfield's. Thank God.
Yeah, it
'Cause
is
growing up, he was my favorite Spider-Man villain was the Rhino. I had an action figure of him and everything.
sick. Okay, okay. So maybe you will like the movie, maybe
Maybe.
not. I'm not sure how good this interpretation of the Rhino is. He was fine, I think, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, there's a Spider-Man character called the Chameleon, and in Kraven, there's a guy who can mimic people's voices exactly. It's a trick he shows off a couple times, and everyone keeps saying, "Oh, you're so much like a chameleon here." That went over in my head completely.
They just straight up said it.
Yeah, yeah, yep. They straight up said it. Then at like the very end of the movie here, Craven's talking to him and he's like, "Oh, to be more powerful, I got this like experimental surgery from like some crazy doctor or whatever." And then like he's like out walking and Craven's like following him and all of a sudden he turns around instead of looking like himself, he looks exactly like Kraven.
Oh
And
wow.
I was like, "Oh yeah, there is that character from the comics called the Chameleon, duh, who can look like anyone else." And he kept like saying things and I was like, "Okay, this is like so obvious now, duh." But the movie kept trying to like tell you who he was. And so much of the fact where after he's Kraven, before he turns back into himself, he turns back into like a comics accurate version of the Chameleon and then back into like how he's looked for all the movie. I just thought it was so funny here because there was a point where it's like I've heard of the Chameleon, but couldn't remember who he was. There's a point where I now know exactly what's going on here. But then they like kept talking about it and they showed his face and I was like, what are they doing? Because if there's someone who's watching this who truly has no idea who the Chameleon is, you guys talking about this more is not going to help. We're not going to unlock anything for them whatsoever. It was super cool to see a comic book accurate version of the Chameleon on screen here, but
Yeah.
like they just kept talking about it. Like the movie had like a very natural end. We're like, okay, this should be the end of the movie now. It's over. And then like the last 15 minutes of the movie was exclusively focused on the chameleon, and that was it. And I was like, what is going on? It was so funny though. Like it kind of it bounced back to the end. Still not a, a good movie here, but I watched it.
You saying that that he kept calling, like someone said, "Oh man, you're like a chameleon," or like, and he kept referring to him,
Yep.
reminds me of, and this is really bad that it reminds me of this, and the people who wrote this movie should probably stop writing movies. It
Okay.
reminds me of in The Phantom when we say, or like the original one,
Yes.
when I say, "Oh, it's like a phantom like person," and my friend Colin goes, "Then we should call it the Phantom." And I think we kind of did something like that, and when we remade it,
Yep.
phantom like creature. Oh, we should call it a phantom. It's like that's exactly what that's the same vibe. And this is like
100%.
a YouTube movie made by high schoolers. They should not have anything in common. But here
Oh
we are.
man.
So that was a wonderful update. It makes me want to go see it a little bit more than I did. So
Sweet. Well then,
on my end,
yeah, hey, Tony, you should hire me to do some additional marketing. Apparently, me talking like this helps drive more people to the theaters, so
and you should, if you're gonna write
or
movies like that, you
online.
should hire Brennan to write them too.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that far, but
Yeah, just don't hire him to edit them because they won't ever get made.
and that's the Brennan guarantee.
On my end, Skeleton Crew, we're also episodes 3 and 4 dropped. They dropped a lot of lore in episode 3 and then they kind of gave more backstory on episodes 1, 2, and 3, and episode 4. So not much to talk about, like without spoiling anything. Because I definitely think you should watch the show. It's really good so far. They've expanded the Star Wars world even more, both into the past and in the current Star Wars kind of lay of the land and stuff like that. It's really good so far. I will not go into specifics like Brennan did with Creature Commandos, but it's really good.
Yeah, because I will say so far I've heard only like I've heard exclusively positive things about episodes 3 and 4. Some of those came from you. I think you texted me some stuff about episode 3.
Yes,
then,
I said they dropped a bunch of lore.
Yeah. And online I've seen some things as well. I don't think I've seen any real spoilers except for one scene with a paddle droid was
yeah.
And I am excited to see that. I haven't seen like the actual scene. I just saw a still like an old battle droid being like powered on. And he's just like, did we win? And that screenshot by itself almost convinced me to just binge all of Skeleton Crew in that very moment. I love when when battle droids just come back like
in Rebels, right?
Remember
that
like
episode? Yeah.
The farther along in this like in the timeline we are, the farther away we are from the Clone Wars, the funnier it gets.
Well, because Skeleton Crew takes place after episode 9, so it's the furthest we've ever gotten away from the Clone Wars.
Yep. So
Did we win?
Am thrilled. I am beyond thrilled that paddle droid jokes and stuff are still around, are still continuing on. So at some point soon here, I am planning to get all caught up. It'll probably be over the holidays when I have a lot of time off. I don't have to work or wrap presents or get ready for family or anything like that. I can kind of just sit back and enjoy. So yep.
Cool.
But yeah, that sounds awesome, and hopefully next episode we can
actually like go into some more specifics. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Well, that about wraps up what I have to say. Anything else for you, Brennan?
Nope. I'm just excited we got an episode out in under an hour.
Episode 8. Episode 8 for 2024. thank you to everyone who's listened. Like Brennan, like Brennan said earlier, I did kind of get our numbers for the year. We grew a lot in the last couple months, which is really awesome considering we've not done this podcast very much this year. I'd like to do more next year, but really that just kind of depends on the schedule of things and whatever we can get to, we can get to. So like, don't get used to us doing one every two weeks ever again. Maybe once every month, maybe, because we were doing once every 2 months. But yeah. So I'd like to thank everyone who does listen to this podcast. If you do like it, give us a like, subscribe wherever you are. Go subscribe to Brennan's channel. If he may upload a video again, if not, just watch the Mark Hamill video over and over again, like I do. And subscribe to WolfGator Entertainment. I might also start posting stuff that's more than this, but probably not.
Cool.
So, peace.
Peace. See you next year.